Okay, here we go with some hints for homework sheet number 10. The first question, there's not an awful lot to speak about here, guys, as long as we remember BODMAS. So we're going to do the division part first of all. So 77.1 divided by 30. We could make it a wee bit easier and say instead of divide by 30, let's divide by 3. But if we do that by removing the 0, then we need to divide the top by 10 as well. So it's actually like 7.71 divided by 3. So if you do your wee bridge sum, 3 into 7.71, get your answer for that, and then take it away from the 6.2. Second question, fractions. First one's an adding one. So the first thing we're going to do there is we're going to add the whole number, so we're going to add the 2 and the 3 to make 5. Then we're going to get a new bottom number. Looking at the 3 here and the 5 here, that means it's going to be 15. You know how to get the new top numbers and the answer. The second question, we need to turn top heavy. Okay, so we need to turn it from a mixed number where it is just now into a top heavy number. How do we do that? We do 7 times 2 add 1. 7 times 2 add 1 is 15, so the first fraction becomes 15 over 7. You do a similar thing for the second fraction, and then we need to turn it into a time sum by turning your fraction upside down. Do some cancelling, get your answer. Question 3, removing brackets. The only thing I want to say here is remember that 3a minus 2 squared is 3a minus 2 times 3a minus 2. So we need to do 3a times 3a, 3a times negative 2, then another 3a times negative 2, and then a negative 2 times negative 2. So get your two answers and do a big takeaway. Question 4. Solve by factorising. So a couple of brackets for the first question, gives you x equals and x equals. For part B, first thing you need to do there is get the 12x over to the other side as minus 12x, get the 9 over to the other side as positive 9. Once you've made it equal to 0, you can then do, let's get our two brackets and work out what x is. Question 5 or 6, as I seem to have lost one in the sheet. Find the equation of a line passing through 4, 6, which is parallel to this line. So what we need to do for this line is work out what its gradient is. How do we get its gradient? We need to rewrite it as y equals mx plus c. So first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my negative 2y over to this side, which is going to give me positive 2y equals 4x add 6. Then I'm going to divide by 2 to get me my gradient. Once I know my gradient, because I know this point here is 4, 6, I can then use the y minus b formula to get my answer. Question 7. Solve 3x squared minus 4x minus 11 to 3 significant figures. That means because the fact the question says significant figures and it's a quadratic, we know that we're going to have to use the formula negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So identify what your a is, identify what your b is, identify what your c is, and then just plug each of these numbers into the formula. Okay, be careful because your b is going to involve a negative and your c is going to involve a negative. Okay, question 8. We are asked to find this distance along here, which we're going to call x. Alright, We've done these before. It's all about extracting the triangle from the picture. So I'm going to take this little blue triangle here and extract it like that. Now, I'm going to call this distance here y, because we know from the picture that the distance y that I'm finding is half of what x is. So once I find y, I can double it to get the distance all the way across there. What other pieces of information do I know? I know because the question tells me that this side here is 3.25 metres. Now if I'm going to use Pythagoras on this right angle triangle, I'm going to need to know what that side there is. The question gives us this little distance here is 2. So I'm going to take that distance and I'm actually going to transfer it into the picture. I'm going to transfer that in there as 2. Okay, from the middle of the circle to the edge is the radius, and we know that the radius is 3.25, tells you that. So if it's 3.25 all the way up there and this part is 2, then that means this missing part is 1.25. So I can add that to my triangle. I can do a little bit of Pythagoras work now, work out what y is, and then remember to double it to get x. 9 just involves our all sine tan cos diagram, and it's just one that's straightforward and it's positive, so it should be nice and easy. Second one, we need to do a wee bit of work first of all. We first of all need to take the 2 over as a negative 2, and then take the 5 over as negative 2 over 5. All sine tan cos once again, but this time, because we are dealing with a negative number on the right hand side, then that means that we're going to tick the S and the T quadrants. Question 10. Question tells us that 4 burgers plus 3 hot dogs cost £10. It also tells us that 2 burgers plus 4 hot dogs cost £7. Okay, if we do simultaneous equations on those, then that will tell us what a burger equals and what a hot dog equals. How do we do simultaneous equations? Well, we've got a choice. Do we want to make these numbers the same, or do we want to make these numbers the same? Doesn't matter which one you do, it's up to you. Okay, I'm going to make the first numbers the same because it's easier. So the first equation I'm just going to leave as it is, in other words times it by 1. Second equation I'm going to double. Do all that, do a big takeaway, and you can find out what a hot dog and a burger costs. Last question, our scale factors question. Now this is not your normal scale factor question, because normally we would find the linear scale factor and then we would find the volume scale factor, because we're normally asked to find the volume. However, this question is asking us to find the height of this shape here. So we're going to actually do this backwards. So we're going to start with the volume scale factor. Since we're going to the small shape, we're going from the big shape to the small shape, it's a small number that's going to be on the top. So 50 over, now please note this is in millilitres, this is in litres. So the first thing to do is to change that to 1,000 millilitres. So we're going to do 50 over 1,000, which you can cancel down. That's the volume scale factor. We're going to use that to get the linear scale factor. Once we've got the linear scale factor, we just times the old height, which is 10, by that number, and that's going to give you your new height. Okay, so volume scale factor, turn that to linear scale factor, times by 10. Okay, hopefully that's it.